Our Taken for a Ride investigation has made a huge impact on school bus service in New Orleans. Eyewitness investigator David Hammer, he found so many problems with insurance and safety violations that the city took over the bus inspection process for the school year.
They did, but getting the bus companies to comply hasn't been easy. Here's David with the latest.
Gerald Sawinski is the regional maintenance manager for A&S Transportation.
Literally, I have skin in the game because my daughters ride my buses. You know, in every bus, no matter where it is, it's my bus because it's my responsibility to make sure that bus is safe and reliable.
He came from Florida to make sure A&S's 126 school buses in New Orleans meet the city's new safety and licensing rules.
We inspect our buses the night before they're going to go, so that way we can address any defects we find then, rather than have them fail here.
The new city rules were imposed after our Taken for a Ride investigation, which uncovered school buses without license plates, using fake brake tags, and even falsifying their insurance coverage.
And it was kind of frightening.
The main issues from last year of not being able to identify the buses, not having insurance on file, or actually have contacts with the companies, we've already rectified that.
Wes Pfeiffer runs the city's Ground Transportation Bureau. He says 589 bus drivers and 629 buses are now fully registered with the city. Unique ID numbers are now posted on the sides of those licensed buses.
That's huge because, like you said before, you go see a bus and you couldn't even tell who owned it.
Correct. There was no identifiable
markings. Sometimes there wasn't even a name.
Correct.
But the vast majority of those buses have not passed safety and mechanical inspections yet. That means they have not received these new school bus inspection stickers. So few buses came in before school started in early August that the city had to extend the deadline to September 1st.
That one failed too.
On August 6th, we were there and watched Hammond's transportation buses fail. And then owner Mark Hammond showed up and canceled the rest of his inspections. Now, 2 days before the extended deadline, only 55 of 629 buses have passed inspection. Sawinski says A&S will bring its buses in through the weekend to meet the deadline.
Yeah, we should make that mark.
But other companies certainly won't.
Hopefully everybody can kind of get everything done in a timely manner and put out a safe, reliable product.
So the city is extending the deadline again to September 15th, recognizing this is a new system for the bus companies. But Pfeiffer says City Hall won't be accommodating much longer.
So you're hopeful that over the next 2 weeks now, with the extended deadline, that you can get to very close to the full 600 or thereabouts?
I'm very confident that we can.
David Hammer, Eyewitness News.
Pfeiffer says most of the failures are simple mechanical or labeling issues. Only one of 122 buses so far has been banned from the streets. But if the buses don't have their stickers by September 15th, Pfeiffer wants schools to call City Hall and report those buses for fines. If you have a story that you want the Eyewitness investigators to look into, including me, email your tip to eyewitness@wwltv.com.